A user bot is one of the most useful things you can build on Telegram, and also one of the fastest ways to lose an account if you go about it wrong. The catch is that a user bot is not a separate little robot with its own identity. It is a program logged into a real account, your account, acting as you through code. So when it misbehaves, it is not a throwaway token that gets slapped. It is the actual account with its number and history and everything in it that ends up limited or banned. Get the foundation right and a user bot runs quietly for years. Get it wrong and you can burn a good account in an afternoon. So let me walk through what a user bot really is, why the risk sits where it does, and the concrete habits that keep one alive. I run managed Telegram hosting on dedicated hardware here in Singapore, and keeping automated accounts healthy is a normal part of the job because a lot of what we host is exactly this, real accounts running steady automation without tripping over the limits. So this is not theory pulled from a forum, it is the practical reality of what gets an automated account banned and what keeps it boring and stable, which in this world is the highest compliment you can pay a setup. Here is the plan. What a user bot actually is and how it differs from a normal bot. Why that difference is the whole risk. What people legitimately use them for. The two ways automated accounts die, pace and footprint. Then the concrete rules that keep one alive. By the end, you will know how to run one without gambling an account you care about. Start with what a user bot actually is. When you use the normal Telegram app, you are a full user. A user bot is a program that logs into a full user account the same way over Telegram's API, using libraries like Telephone or Picrogram, and then does things automatically that a person would otherwise tap out by hand. It reads messages, sends replies, downloads media, joins chats, searches history, all under the identity of the account it logged into. It is you, automated, that is the idea, and exactly why it is powerful and risky. Now the distinction that matters most, which is a user bot versus an ordinary bot. A normal bot is the kind you make with Botfather. It has its own separate identity, a token instead of a phone number, and it lives on the bot API with clear published limits. It cannot pretend to be a person, and that is the point. A user bot is the opposite. It has no separate identity at all. It is a human account driven by software, indistinguishable from a person except by how it behaves. So a bot that misbehaves loses a token you can regenerate. A user bot that misbehaves loses the account itself. So why run one at all given the risk? Because there are genuinely useful things only a full account can do. Saving and organizing your own messages, downloading media from chats you are in, auto-replying when you are away, monitoring channels you belong to for a keyword, scheduling your own posts, cleaning up your own history, running a personal assistant that works across your chats. These are ordinary, legitimate uses. The account doing on a timer what you would do by hand. The trouble only ever comes from doing too much, too fast, to people who did not ask for it. Here is the core risk stated plainly, because everything else follows from it. Because a user bot is a real account, Telegram judges it as a real account on its behavior over time. Every action your code takes goes through the same rate limiter and the same spam detection as a person tapping the screen. There is no separate, more forgiving lane for automations. If your program does things a spammer would do, sends bursts to strangers, joins dozens of groups in a minute, blasts identical messages, the system reacts the way it would to a spammer, and the account pays. The automation does not shield the account is fully exposed. Understand the machinery a little and it gets clearer. A user bot talks to Telegram through the API using two credentials you generate once, an API ID and an API hash tied to your account. Every message sent, every chat joined, every lookup done arrives at Telegram servers as a request from that account, timestamped and counted. Telegram watches the rate and the pattern and builds a picture of whether this account behaves like a settled person or like a machine hammering the service. Your job is to make sure the picture it builds is the calm one. There are really only two ways an automated account dies, and both are avoidable. The first is pace, doing things faster than a person ever would. Bursts of actions in a tight window trip the rate limiter, you get flood rates, And if you keep pushing, you graduate from a harmless timer into a real limit on the account. The second is footprint, the account looking untrustworthy underneath, brand new with no history, or hopping between shifting data center addresses, or logged in from somewhere that does not match its identity. Pace is what your code does. Footprint is what the account sits on. You have to get both right because the system weighs them together. So here are the rules. First and most important, never run automation on your only account or on one you cannot afford to lose. Use a dedicated account kept genuinely legitimate that exists for this purpose. Automation carries risk no matter how careful you are, so the account under it should never be the one holding your real conversations, your business identity, or anything you cannot replace. Treat the automated account as working equipment, valuable but expendable, not as your personal line. That single decision turns a possible disaster into a manageable one. Second, age and warm the account before you automate anything on it. A day-old account that immediately starts firing API calls is the single most suspicious thing you can present. No history plus instant machine activity. So let a new account be a normal account first. Use it by hand for a while, join a few real chats, have some ordinary conversations, let it settle and earn a little trust. Only once it looks like a lived-in account do you gently layer automation on top, starting light. A warmed account tolerates far more than a fresh one because Telegram has a reason to believe it is real. Third, keep the account on one stable, clean IP that matches its identity and do not let it wander. A user bot running from a jumpy connection, or from a data center address that screams automation, or from a country that has nothing to do with the account, hands the system every reason to distrust it. A settled account on a consistent, residential-feeling mobile IP looks like a person who lives somewhere and logs in from the same place. That stability is quiet trust, and trust is exactly what buys an automated account the headroom to run. Fourth, pace everything and build the weighting into the code itself. Space your actions out with small delays instead of firing them in bursts, and spread any bulk work thinly across time rather than all at once. When Telegram hands your program a flat wait for some number of seconds, catch it, sleep for that long plus a small margin, and only then continue. Never write a loop that just retries on failure without sleeping, because against a flat wait, that loop becomes a hammer that extends the block. Better still, throttle yourself on purpose so you stay comfortably under the limit, and the wait handling is a rare safety net, not a daily event. Fifth, guard your credentials and your session as if they were the account itself, because they are. Your API ID and API hash identify your account to Telegram, so keep them out of public code and out of screenshots. More important still is the session, the login token your library saves after you sign in the first time. That session file, or session string, is a full active login. Anyone who copies it is inside your account with no password and no code prompt, because the hard part of logging in is already done. Store it like a password, never paste it anywhere, and if one ever leaks, log out that session and rotate immediately. Sixth, use a plain bot whenever the job does not truly need a full account. A lot of what people reach for a user bot to do can be done by an ordinary botfodder bot instead, safely within published limits, with no real account on the line at all. So reserve the user bot for the narrow set of things that genuinely require acting as a full user, and push everything else onto a proper bot. The safest automation is the automation that never touches a human account in the first place. And keep each automated account to one purpose on one clean connection. Do not pool a stack of user bots behind a single hammering address, all firing at once from the same place, because that concentrates exactly the dense, bursty, machine-like pattern the system reacts to, and it can pull the whole group down together. Give each account its own steady pace, its own clean IP, and its own breathing room. Treated individually and calmly, a set of automated accounts stays healthy. Treated as one big fire hose from one location, they draw limits together, put the worst case together so it is vivid. A brand new account, no history, running heavy automation from day one, firing bursts at strangers on a shifting data center IP, with its sessions sitting in a public repository. Every single thing that could mark it as a machine is switched on at once. That account does not last, and no clever library saves it, because the problem was never the code. It was the foundation the code was standing on. Flip each of those the other way: aged account, gentle pace, stable clean IP, guarded session, and the same automation runs quietly and indefinitely. Let me be clear about scope, because it matters. Everything here is about running your own legitimate automation on an account that is yours, saving your messages, monitoring your own chats, answering for you while you are away. It is not about blasting unsolicited messages at people who never asked, or mass adding strangers, which is exactly the abuse the rate limits and the bans exist to stop, and which no amount of careful pacing makes acceptable. The honest use a person automating their own account within reason is the use this advice serves. And here is the honest catch. A dedicated account you can afford to lose, aged and warmed before it automates, sitting on one stable clean IP that matches its identity, paced properly with backoff in the code, its session and number kept safe and online, is steady, fiddly, ongoing work, and it only gets harder the more automated accounts you keep alive at once. That unglamorous foundation, the part that actually decides whether your automation runs for years or dies in an afternoon, is exactly what managed hosting is built to carry. Telegram Vault is managed Telegram hosting on dedicated Singapore hardware, real handsets on real carrier SIMs from Singtel, M1, StarHub, and Vivify. So your automated account sits on a stable, clean mobile IP with the settled footprint that earns headroom, stays continuously online, and keeps its number alive and paid, while you focus on the automation itself instead of the foundation under it. If that is what you need, start at Telegram Vault. Onboarding begins with a real conversation about your setup, not a checkout page, and the code TGYT gets you a discount when you start. If this made the difference between a Userbot as a gamble and a Userbot as a stable tool, subscribe, because there is a lot more on running Telegram accounts and automation cleanly coming on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.